Welcome back to the AARP Arizona Facebook Live series. This video is presented by the Community Education Program. It's a volunteer-led program that offers basic conversations on topics of interest such as Social Security, Medicare, fraud, caregiving, finances, and more. I'm Jerry Waterworth, a volunteer in the program, and with me today are some of our other volunteer speakers, including Tanya, Steve, Rob, Linda, and Bonnie. Welcome, everybody. So today we want to continue with our series on the Fraud Watch Network, an effort by AARP to provide information on fraud and fraud prevention. So in this series, we've already covered scams related to COVID-19, identity theft, and common scams seen by everybody. Today, we would like to continue the topic of fraud to Playbook. In order to understand how fraud works, inmates and con artists were interviewed and law enforcement tapes were reviewed. One common theme emerged that con artists use, and that is they try to get their victims under the ether. And by that, they mean a heightened sense or a heightened emotional state. That makes it hard for a victim to think clearly and make rational decisions because they're under the ether. Also, the results of those interviews can be boiled down into several common persuasion tactics that are used to convince victims to fall for their fraud. And we'll examine those today with the help of our volunteers. The first persuasion tactic we're going to cover is profiling. And for that, Tanya, can you help us understand what that is?
Hi. Yes, the profiling tends to be when they're trying to get more information from you in order to help aid themselves in doing whichever crime and or type of fraud they're actually trying to do. So I'm going to be talking to Linda. Um, Hi, Linda. Haven't talked to you in a while, but I heard that Bob is gone. How long has he been deceased?
It's been about a year and a half now.
Oh yeah. I heard you guys are probably going to be selling the house. Are you gonna how much is your mortgage? Do you know how much it's even worth now?
Yeah, I still have a little bit more to go on my mortgage,
That's
but it's
good.
almost
That's
paid
good.
off.
Are you gonna need some insurance? Did you have insurance out on Bob, or how's that going for you?
No, I'm actually really struggling financially right now. I didn't have insurance. I didn't pay the
Oh well,
premium.
my friend Sarah has this loan that she's working on. So more or less in that process, they're just trying to find out as much information as they can possibly get to see what kind of fraud or scam they can stick you in that they have a list to go on. So at that point, I could have given her some kind of loan to help her get out of the trouble she's in and or possibly even fraud the husband, even though he's not in the picture anymore. The more information you find out, the more problematic you can make that other person's life. So more or less, if it's someone you know, they should probably know all your information already. So be leery of how much information you're actually giving out just on a someone you know a little bit or someone you don't know at all.
Great advice. Thank you, Tanya. The next topic is phantom riches, which will be explained by Steve. Steve?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, riches is basically a tactic that the con man will use. And what they want to do is they want to get your emotions up very high so you would make impulsive decisions. And one of the things that they will do is they will dangle a carrot in front of you, and they want you to buy. So an example would be like, say, with COVID-19. So you might get a phone call from a broker, and he might not even be a legit broker, but he's going to tell you that, hey, I got this penny stock that the pharmaceutical company, is on the verge of a major breakthrough on this vaccine. And if you get in on it now, you're going to be very rich in the near future. So they might want you to invest $10,000 and promise you, 10 times that amount within, 2-3 months. So basically, they are dangling that big win in front of you. Another thing would be investments, just like gold, where you might get a call and somebody would say, look, gold is at this amount, and I know in 3 months it's going to really jump up high because of the civil unrest that we're having. So if you invest $50,000 now, within 4 months, you're going to quadruple your investment. So that is some of the phantom riches that they are trying to bestow upon you. And that's the same thing with lotteries. Like Linda was explaining in one of the episodes, is that you'll get a call, you've just won $250,000 or whatever, and for a little bit of money, they want you to pay all these fees. So you got to be very, very careful. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. So they are trying to build it up, and they're trying to get you to invest a certain amount of money on the backs of, 6 months down the line, you're going to be a millionaire, which everyone knows that just doesn't happen. So be careful when you get these phone calls, all promising, all big wins and that. Like I said, a lot of times it's phantom riches. They're dangling that carrot in front of you, hoping that you will bite, invest your money on the terms of, 6 months down the line, you're going to be a millionaire, and that just doesn't happen. So be careful out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That's good advice. And scarcity is another tactic commonly used. Rob, can you explain what that means?
I certainly can. The con artists, and frankly, even some legitimate salespeople, want to create a sense of urgency in order to create your state of ether. They want to alter your sense of reasoning, especially when money is involved. So you may be confronted with a situation where you're told you need to make an immediate decision because others are waiting. Or you may be told this deal will not be available after today. So do not let others manipulate your thought process. Demand time to think and reflect on the proposed deal. Very rarely do deals simply go away while you're thinking about them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And next is fear and intimidation. We've seen it often. And Linda, help explain that, please.
Yes, fear is probably one of the most common tactics used by many, many fraudsters and many, many scams, because fear works. Fear creates that sense of urgency that you have to solve a problem, you have to react, you have to do something to follow through in order to fix whatever the problem is. So the fear that is created when, like, the IRS calls and says to you that you owe money and that you have to pay up right away or there'll be consequences, that is one of the buttons that is pushed when you're under that state of ether. And you feel like you have to follow through or there's going to be consequences. So a fraudster loves to use this particular tactic because it really does work for them, and it really gets the victim to do what they want them to do. I'm going to just give you a couple of examples of some of the most common scams where fear is used. And of course, we all have probably heard from the IRS. Also, debt collectors use fear, jury duty scams, utility shutoff scams, extortion scams, credit card fraud charges. All of those are done by fraudsters who are impersonating people or companies or government agencies, trying to use the fear tactic to get you to give them money or your personal information. So just listen to your gut and try not to let fear be a motivator for you to give up your information or send money. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And finally, source credibility is often used by fraudsters. Bonnie, how does that work?
Source credibility is a very strong persuasive technique because what con artists try to do is build credibility by using perhaps a well-known celebrity to endorse a product or an investment. They may do things that make themselves appear very successful, maybe the way they dress, if they drive a fancy car. And it's just human nature to look at someone that appears to be successful, excuse me, and feel like you can trust them. They may also claim to be affiliated with a reputable organization or tout a special credential or experience. Maybe they introduce themselves as a president of a company or a CEO or so forth, and the title can sometimes just grab your attention without you thinking, who is this person really and how did they get my information? As Linda said, the IRS is probably the most mimicked government agency in all of the fraudulent attempts. And we tend to have that sense of anxiety when we see any kind of a communication from the IRS. Well, the IRS is not going to send you an email. They will send you a formal letter and then you can respond to that. But so whenever you feel that anxious feeling, you need to take a moment and think about how you were contacted and what information they are trying to get from you. Another common scam, which has been mentioned in previous videos, is of course the claim to be from Microsoft, because these usually come in the form of an email, and they tell you that there's a problem on your computer, a virus that you need to have taken care of. So if you don't initiate it, don't fall for titles and fancy cars or anything like that. Just if they're trying to get your personal information, just take a moment to lower your level of anxiety and make good choices. Do your own research and contact them on your own if you think it is legitimate.
Great advice, and thank you, Bonnie. So as you can see, many common tactics are used to help con artists get you under the ether. And the goal is to get you into that heightened emotional state so that it's hard for you to think clearly and make a rational decision. After all, how can you resist that celebrity endorsing a product, the promise of wealth, or even the last chance to buy that valuable gold coin? But of course, not all ads that use these tactics are fraudulent. But con artists have caught on to the effectiveness of these strategies, and they use them frequently. So for more information on these and other current scams, we recommend going to the AARP website, which has a section on Fraud Watch Network. Simply search AARP Fraud Watch Network, and there you can sign up for alerts on the latest scams going on in your area. You can get tips on fraud prevention, and you can find resources in the event you become a victim of fraud. There's even a helpline to call for help and guidance, and that number is 877-908-3360. The Fraud Watch Network is only one of several topics covered by the community education program. So stay tuned for additional information in this series on fraud-related topics, as well as additional videos which will be forthcoming on Medicare, Social Security, caregiving, and finances. We'd like to thank all our volunteers for their support and their contribution to this effort. And please stay tuned to the AARP Arizona Facebook page for regular updates from the community education program. There's a lot more to come, so thank you for joining us today.